The old lady in the toilet. After telling the above stories, it reminds me of something that my mother always told me. My mother said that when I was a little over 2 years old, I could speak very clearly and express everything. Now my daughter is a little over 2 years old, and she's just the same. She can tell us what she ate at her grandmother's house, what she played with, what she saw, and what she heard every day. I've gone off topic. Let's get back to when I was 2 years old. At that time, my father was a leader in his unit and was always very busy. Looking back now, there are very few memories of my father in my childhood. It was always my mother who played with me. Occasionally, there were moments when my father, reeking of alcohol, was sent home by the driver. My mother was a soft water inspector in her unit, working in 3 shifts. Every time she worked the night shift, she would first pick me up from my grandmother's house and then go to the unit. We had dinner in the unit cafeteria, and after work, she would take me home by bicycle. At that time, the compound of my mother's unit was very large and desolate, and people always said that the compound wasn't clean and that many people had seen all sorts of strange things. Once, when my mother was working the night shift, it was already a little past 8 o'clock in the evening after she finished the last soft water inspection. It was winter, and it was already pitch dark at 8 o'clock. When my mother was about to go home, she wanted to use the toilet. In fact, she had wanted to go for a long time, but the yard was too dark, and the toilet was in a patch of weeds far away, so she had been holding it in. Finally, she really couldn't hold it any longer before leaving. There was a public toilet, made of red bricks in the weeds, and there wasn't even a streetlight. It was pitch black. My mother was a bit scared. She borrowed a flashlight from the duty officer, and took me with her to give herself some courage as she walked towards the toilet. When she reached the door of the toilet, my mother suddenly felt extremely scared for no apparent reason. Actually, my mother wasn't usually a timid person. The courtyard where my grandmother used to live was haunted all the time, and if she had been timid, she would have been scared to death long ago. But my mother said she was especially scared that day. So, seeing that there was no one around, she decided not to go inside the toilet and just took care of things at the door. My mother squatted at the door, and I was bored, running around. I ran to the door of the toilet and peeked inside, saying, "Mom, don't be afraid. There's an old lady in here." My mother was buttoning up her pants. When she heard me say that, she shone the flashlight and looked inside but saw nothing. She felt a chill run down her spine and quickly picked me up and ran back to the laboratory. After putting me down, she asked me in detail. I said that there was an old lady wearing a blue jacket and a white hat, standing in the toilet with her face towards the wall and her back to me. My mother was so scared that she didn't even dare to go out of the laboratory door because a few days before, the old lady who swept the compound of the unit had suddenly died of a cerebral hemorrhage. When the old lady was alive, she had a headache problem and always wore a white hat all year round. My mother was so scared that her legs went weak. In the end, it was the 2 uncles on the night shift in the laboratory who accompanied my mother and me to the street, and then we were able to get home.